Thank you so very much for being here. And if you just joined us, this is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television from our headquarters in Lagos State, in Nigeria. Now let's head straight to our main conversation for today. The United States mission in Nigeria has vowed to impose visa restrictions on corrupt Nigerian officials, warning that high-profile individuals found guilty of corruption will not be spared. In a post on X, the mission emphasized that corruption has no borders, stressing that accountability applies globally and offenders could be barred from entering the United States of America. This move is part of Washington's continued efforts to support transparency and good governance by holding influential figures accountable for corrupt practices. Meanwhile, Reforms UK has unveiled plans to abolish the rights of migrants to apply for permanent settlement in the UK after 5 years. If the party wins the next election, instead, migrants would have to reapply for visas every 5 years under tougher conditions, including higher salary thresholds and stricter English requirements, effectively scrapping indefinite leave to remain. Party leaders Nigel Farage argued that Britain should not be the world's food bank, adding that only British citizens should access welfare. While Reform claims the policy will save £234 billion over several decades, Chancellor Rachel Reeves dismissed the figure as unrealistic, noting the government is already reviewing welfare access for migrants. I still have Emeka Maldonado. Thank you so very much, Emeka, for joining us and being back. Emeka, you here with us? Thank you so very much for
I'm here.
on. All right, beautiful.
Yeah.
Emeka, what's your take on this latest migration policies of the United States and the UK government, especially for our leaders, our very corrupt leaders who think that money is everything and that with their money they can buy access to opportunities in other countries around the world?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's it's very sad when people think that they can excuse me, wreck Nigeria and then find salvation in other countries. It's sad, just like you find the situation of governors who cannot steer their states, and they go and stay in Abuja. They stay in Abuja. They govern their states from Abuja. That's the highest rare form of irresponsibility. Yes, the U.S. mission is right to have said that it will back corrupt, high-profile individuals. Yes, and they said that it was in response to a petition filed against the FCT minister yesterday weekend by activist Omo Showore. Yes. Of course, Wike has not denied. He has actually confirmed that his family has some properties in Florida. He claims that his wife, who is a justice of the Court of Appeal of Nigeria, that they have American citizenship, so that they transfer their properties to his children. I mean, that says a lot. A Court of Appeal justice who also holds a dual citizenship. That tells you about where such a person's loyalty lies. But that's not the topic of discussion for today. The issue is that the U.S. mission has rightly responded because, sadly, Western nations are complicit in the looting of Nigeria. They've been complicit since, independence, in the looting of Nigeria, of Nigerian treasury. They give, they give sanctuary to criminals, to looters. To keep their funds, and then to also hibernate it, stay in their countries, which is not right. There are several conventions. The Organization of European Cooperation and Development, OECD, it has an anti-corruption convention. There is the European Union Convention. There's the United Nations Convention. Then we have the AU, I think the AU Convention on corruption, And if we were to observe these things, clearly, I mean, if we're not observing these things in the breach, I believe corruption would have gone down significantly in Nigeria. The Abacha loot ought to have taught the West, over $5 billion, ought to have taught the West a big lesson that you cannot continue to, to encourage, the pillaging of Africa. And then you turn around to say that Africans are backward, that Africans are lazy and all of that. All this money being, stolen and looted abroad, money that are meant, for public services, for public works that should fix roads, fix hospitals, fix schools, take care of the security services and all of that. So now when you take this money, put in your, the money is put in your banks, you lend this money to your big corporation, and then you come back to tell us that your economies are doing better. You are just a bloody hypocrite. It's nothing more than that. The West is the biggest enabler of corruption worldwide. The United States, European, nations, and then, nations in the East, some nations in the East. So it is really shameful that despite pretensions, to the contrary, they continue to, encourage, they continue to encourage corruption. They continue to encourage looting. So it is salary development. The United States has said it will deny them visa. It's not just denying them visa. Place sanctions on them. Whatever properties they own in your country, seize those properties. Seize those properties. Auction the properties. And warn the Nigerian government that you will monitor how the such repatriated funds are used. Don't touch such funds. We had talked about, years ago, based on the war in Liberia and Sierra Leone. The world said, that they will label stolen diamonds stolen from Sierra Leone as blood diamonds. And that convention, that idea also moved to oil. That will label oil stolen from, the Niger Delta as, blood oil. But what is happening? Has it abated? Yes, we know that oil theft has abated significantly, but it should not have even been allowed in the first place. You allow people to steal money from Nigeria, money that should be used to take care of children, and then we are heavily indebted. It is the same money you turn around to lend us. That is blatant hypocrisy. And I think the West, I must say this openly, the West is the destroyer of Africa. And the earlier they put a stop to all this nonsense, the better. Because generations unborn will not forgive the West. They will not. Nigel Farage and others, Reform UK, who are carrying out, who are talking about what they are hypocrites. They are blatant, shameless, bloody hypocrites who don't, who have no soul. They have no conscience. If they had a conscience, first of all, they will talk about, listen, all the money looted by African leaders, in Europe should be returned. Paul Biya is seeking the fifth term in office. He has been living in Chateau in France for so many years, governing this country from France. Why not kick him out? Why not kick him out? Huh? Look at Nigeria. You are telling me that, look, let me tell you, was it last week or the other week, when Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE agents in the United States, went to a construction site somewhere in the US, somebody gave them a false tip that they were illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, these are South Koreans brought from their country to, by a South Korean investor to come and work, in a factory they were setting up, and now when they went there and they were, making so much noise, the South Koreans said, no, we're ready to go. We're ready to go. We want to go back to our country. We love our country. What can that be said of Nigerians, of Africans? The same Africans who cross, who embark on torturous, dangerous journeys across the Sahara, across the Mediterranean to get to Europe. think this joke has gone on for too long. There must be a seismic shift. There must be a change in attitude. I must say it clearly. The West, they are thieves. I say clearly, they are thieves. Forget all these things that Donald Trump and others are doing. They should first of all address corruption in Africa because they are enabling theft. They are enabling armed robbery. And they are accomplices. So when Nigel Farage says such nonsense, he should tell us what contribution immigrants have made to the British economy, vis-a-vis the contribution that the people he's trying to make, into a superior race, what contributions they have made to the economy of the United Kingdom. If you remove immigrants, the British economy will collapse today. If you remove immigrants, like he's saying that they will remove up to 1 million immigrants, the British economy will collapse. Yes, it's the same thing with the American economy. Many farms now are empty because there are no immigrants to work on those farms. So when all these leaders just to pander to nationalist sentiment because they want to win the elections, they say things that are not realistic. Of course, along the line it will backfire. It will backfire on them. You can now see, okay, President Donald Trump of the United States introduced $100,000 fee, for the H-1B visa for professionals. But China now has brought out the K-1 visa, which is even much more cheaper and offers better benefits for migrant workers. So you can even see that the West is even so confused. They're actually losing out on the plot. But they keep accusing China of copying their products, of devaluing its currency to, tilt global trade in its favor. But why won't China do that? Why won't they do that? So I think, yes, it is very important when we talk about visas, but beyond visas, you should help to save Africa. A lot of the professionals, Nigerian professionals abroad, actually would prefer to be at home. They would prefer to be back home. Because life abroad is not easy. You just keep working and working while the government is just sucking your revenue, your resources. You don't even have a family life. Many marriages have collapsed. Marriages of immigrants have collapsed. Homes collapsed. So, but that's not the case back home. Because at least you see how closely knit families. So where the couple, are so busy, you find family members, grandfathers, grandmothers, uncles, aunties, family members who can, step in and help to take care of the children and all of that. But the situation is not that like that abroad. So beyond just talking about denying visas, there should be sanctions. Seize all these properties and repatriate the money to Nigeria. And then those officials prevent them from coming to ban them totally from coming to your country. If their children are abroad, deport them, send their children away. You can revoke their citizenship. Because we're in a crisis situation in Nigeria. It's not a joke. We're in a crisis situation. How can we be borrowing up to almost 100 trillion naira when the money that has been stolen by public officials can actually, is actually much, much more than what we are borrowing? It is unacceptable. We must say enough is enough. Thank you.
Very well, Emeka. You actually, had your day on that particular, submission. You've cleared the air. You've really constructed and deconstructed everything on that particular matter, on how that the West had been, complicit over the years, even before the transatlantic era. Pre and post, it's always been the same thing for the West. But at the same time, how much of the blame do you think we should give the West when our own people are the ones offering them the opportunity for them to steal from us? A very good example here, a very classical one. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu just ended his 10-day visit to France and the UK. Of course, he had to cut that short. He would have allowed it roll to about 10 days. He had to cut that short for whatever reason that he had on there. But a situation where our leaders prefer to go to these Western countries for medical aid, for vacation and relaxation, rather than their own, how much of blame do you think we should be giving the West at this point, knowing that we are the ones offering them the opportunity to fleece us of lots of things? Emeka, are you there? Emeka,
Yeah.
are you there?
Now, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
A person who receives stolen goods is as guilty as the thief. That's an accessory after the fact. It doesn't matter whether it was the thief that brought the stolen goods to the receiver. The point is that the law says you cannot receive stolen goods. Now, let me give you an estimate. Chatham House says that between 1960, when Nigeria gained independence, and now, the dollars have been stolen from Nigeria. The economy says nearly $600 billion have been stolen. The United Nations Office on Drug and Crime estimates between $400 and $600 billion. So in other words, between $582 billion and $600 billion have been stolen from Nigeria since independence. Let me tell you what that translates into. That translates into, that translates into trillions, trillions of naira. That translates into trillions of naira. Do you know how much have we borrowed? This year, we have borrowed over, if you look at the Chatham House estimates, honestly, I just feel like fainting here. The Chatham House estimate, I don't know how to begin to count it. When I say 931 trillion have been stolen, the economists estimate 960 trillion. The estimate by GABA, an anti-corruption agency, global agency, talks about 150 trillion. So when you have 960 trillion, what is after trillion? Is it not zillion?
Yes.
So you can imagine. So Nigeria's wealth has been used to develop the so-called developed nations. Honestly, these people are thieves. They are thieves. Out of that money, how much has been recovered? Just about $633.8 million. Then 9.709 million pounds. Out of all these trillions you're seeing. Now, how much is Nigeria currently, owing? Just a bit, just about maybe up to about 100 trillion, if I'm right. 449.39 trillion naira. That's about $97 billion as at March 31, 2025. And we are talking here about looted funds, of over 900 trillion naira. So now, what we are saying is this. Stop receiving stolen money from Nigeria. Because let me tell you something. You see, inflation is man-made, it's artificial. When you see inflation rising, it is because government borrowing and government expenditure are rising. Government cannot match expenditure, with funds publicly generated within the system. So the government has to borrow. And that's why inflation spiked. Our inflation now is about 22%. Of course, that tells you the story of how badly this country has been managed. Under Abacha, Sani Abacha, inflation went to 76%. So whenever you see inflation rising, it is just clear that the government has been borrowing to meet, has been borrowing for public spending. And so in doing so, it has to devalue. So when I see people make some comparisons, I just laugh. You don't understand basic economics, And it's very, very simple. Inflation is artificial. It's man-made. It is not as a result. Those old theories. More money chasing a few goods. It's not about Nigeria. Many Nigerians cannot even afford a decent meal. So where is the more money chasing? Okay, we say prices of food items are dropping. Well, how many people have been able to buy it? Have been able to afford them? Purchasing power has dropped. So there's very little. The naira you have in your pocket can buy. Even if you earn 1 million naira every month, you're basically poor. Because if you look at it, calculate your utility bill, how much you need to spend on power to be able to stay, to be able to, practice your profession, in such a way that you can guarantee a steady, appreciable income. Check how much you have to spend. Is it on utilities, on transport, is it on feeding, school fees, rent, if you have your own property, maintenance and all of that. All these things are man-made. Why our leaders revel in luxury, in criminal, obscene luxury? And that is why the country is the way it is. So what they do, they hire some hungry hallelujah singers who say, oh, everything is fine. People who have no shame, who have no self-awareness, who have no sense of self-pride. Just because of a pittance, 2,000 naira, 5,000, 10,000, they go to elections, they sell their votes. So what do you expect such people to do? Because they don't have a sense of self-awareness. So they don't have a sense of the past, how it connects to the present, and how it leads to the future. And that is what this, the looters in power that we have, that is their sense of mission. To weaponize poverty, to make Nigerians so poor that they cannot speak up. So a lot of Nigerians, because of what they will eat, they are ready, they sell their birthright on a daily basis. They are ready to lie, they are ready to steal. The other day, some people entered my farm and stole my cassava, uprooted my cassava. Now they will tell you it's because of hunger. But the same people will turn around and be praising politicians. Yeah? I am facing the same economic challenges as you are, but you are looting my farm. And meanwhile, you'll be praising the same people who are looting the economy. So we've basically lost our sense of values, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So, what the West should do for us is to make sure. For instance, those Nigerian leaders who go there for medical treatment, they should deny them visas. Let them stay here. The hospitals, they say they build, let them go to the hospitals. If they cannot get to them, let them die. We'll be better off not having such criminals defend this country. Let them die. It has come to a drastic period where we must begin to take drastic actions. Because drastic measures, drastic problems need drastic solutions. Don't give them access. Look at the London clinic in London. If you look at the long list of Nigerian former leaders, name it, politicians, civil servants who have patronized the London clinic. Then those who have died in the London clinic, including Buhari, former head of state and former president Muhammadu Buhari, who are patronizing the London clinic and died. So just look at that. And you can imagine where he said that hospitalization there is as much as £3,000 per day. You know what £3,000 per day is? £3,000 per day. So that should be is that not 60 million naira or something per day? And we can't pay a decent minimum wage. We're paying people 70,000 naira minimum wage. So what we need is that the West should say no more. Don't come here any longer. Stay in your hospital. Patronize your own hospitals. The West should help us to put an end to medical tourism. If they like, they can bring the doctors to Nigeria. Of course, they know one day the people will rise against them because they will not be able to cope. The doctors will also be afraid that one day They could face the anger of the people, the wrath of the people. Now, when they see that the West no longer gives them sanctuary, they'll be forced to come back and fix the nation. And in that way, look, let me tell you, many Nigerians living in Western nations will come back. They're ready to return. They're not having a good time. The only thing is just because our leaders devalued the Naira by more than 1,000%. Let me tell you, in the 70s, in the 80s, what was the exchange rate? Huh? What was the exchange rate? It was actually 75 Naira to $1. In the 70s, 75 Naira to $1. It was parity, 1 Naira to $1, to £1. What happened? Because our leaders already devalued the Naira so that they could be borrowing, and looting the money at the same time. Well, where is it taking them? Which of them is living in comfortable retirement? They keep running from one hospital to the other, from one spiritual home to the other, from one religious leader to the other for prayers, because they are under a curse. They are being chased by the evil, by the wickedness of their past. And those in office now are not even thinking. They're not even thinking. Where we have leaders people who go into office just to steal, just to loot. What do we do about it? The criminality in the system, And you see there are ordinary Nigerians who are benefiting from it. So they will always defend, help them to deflect attention from their criminality. But we must say, no, enough is enough. You are defending them because you are a criminal, because you are benefiting from their criminality. If not, you will not be defending them. So we must say enough is enough. We must speak up. They don't want us to speak up, but we must speak up. Thank you.
Very true, Emeka. It's important that we speak up and call a spade and nip the problem right in the bud, so as we can, of course, enjoy a very fruitful Nigeria. But how much of listening do you think the West will do at this point, knowing that Donald J. Trump is still selling his gold card visa for $5 million, which is ticket to the so-called American dream at this point. And $5 million, I cannot afford it. Lots of Nigerians cannot afford it. The only people that can afford it are still the same corrupt politicians who would readily take money meant for drainages, take money meant for boreholes, take money meant for primary health care centers and educational facilities, and use that to buy Donald J. Trump's gold card visa for $5 million. So who is deceiving who at this point? It's a very big problem. Thank you so very much.
Can I tell you something quickly?
Please
we
do,
don't
America.
need the American dream.
Yeah.
The American dream is for Americans. Let me have my Nigerian dream. I want my Nigerian dream. Look, let me tell you something. I've had opportunities, to relocate. In 1997, the ambassador of a Western nation, during Abacha's time, offered me sanctuary in his country. Ambassador of Belgium to Nigeria. Yes, in 1997. I did an interview with him, and he said that if I was having any issues, if my life was threatened, he would arrange for me to leave the country, to go to Belgium. But I said, no, thank you. I've had opportunities to relocate. I've been abroad, but I refuse to stay abroad because, look, I prefer the Nigerian dream. I enjoy my country. I want, to actualize my dreams majorly in my country. And so let Donald Trump sell whatever he wants to sell for whatever amount. Let me also make my country, let's make our country, let's set our country well, let's fix our country. We will find out that people will also want to pay millions of dollars to get Nigerian citizenship. It's just basic. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Emeka. I think we have to leave it at this particular point, and we hope for better days, and equally use this opportunity to beg our leaders, our political leaders, before election, prior to different circles of election. They will tell us they have the answers. They will tell us they are the best fit. They will tell us that it is their turn to govern, to rule, because according to them, they have the antidote to Nigeria's many problems. But when given the opportunity, they are the first to relocate for vacations, for healthcare maintenance, and all whatnot. in different parts of the world, which still begs the question if really these people are truly patriotic and Nigerians that are ready to lead a country like ours. God bless Nigeria. I love to believe that things will get better because of satirically it's been said that God is a Nigerian with a green passport, so he would never allow anything happen to a great country like his. Emeka, thank you for your time. We truly do appreciate you. And that's just about the time we have, people. We'd love to say thank you. Please do well to follow us. You can find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Gwibike. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early. Bye-bye from us.